Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the online darts Fallout Bar as day 9 of the 2025 Paddy Power World Darts Championships comes to a conclusion, a now record-breaking Phase 1, but we will come to that a little bit later in the show. I'm joined tonight by Mr. Jack Gobby Garwood. Jack, how are things down at the other end of the country?
All right, mate. Took a bit of time to recover this morning, but we are absolutely fine, thanks.
So we haven't spoken yet, and I know it's very, very late, and we've got an awful lot to get through, and I'm going to get to the chat room in a minute, but just very quickly, experience of the Palace this year. Fan zone, anything new to report? Anything more interesting? How's it all going?
I love the Palace. I think it's absolutely perfect for darts. Paddy have done a great job again, setting up the fan zone in the middle with the loads of challenges on. I saw Keith Della playing against some fans. I think it was meant to be Mason, but he's hurt his shoulder at the moment. But there was 3 or 4 different opportunities to win prizes through Paddy Power Village hotels over the back. There was an opportunity to get a temporary tattoo from Fireball Whiskey. There was a smart devices challenge as well. Then you had the stage in the corner for the Dart Show Live. There was photography around by the very excellent Chris Sargent. You can have a photo with Russ Bray and Keith Della. Managed to nab one of them last night whilst I challenged Russ to a 180 off. Didn't end very well for me, but if you don't try these things, you never know. But yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. The only ironic thing is PDC have signed this fantastic deal with Foster's, and it's not available at the bar. It's Amstel, neck oil, or inches side.
I saw that. Yeah, Amstel, neck oil, and inches is your 3 choices. Although what I will say is,
£7 something a pint as well. I know it's London. I know it's an event price, but
see, I'm still. Honestly, I had a look, and I'm going to say the opposite. In that my local pub in the very east of England is selling neck oil at £6.40 or something, £6.45. I think if you get a pint, and I was in London the other week paying £11 for a pint of neck oil. So I don't think that is. I was genuinely quite surprised at how much they've managed to keep a lid on things. We're busy already in the chat room, which is mint because we are late getting on tonight. It's almost tomorrow today. But we've got a lot of familiar faces in that have been with us for the first 9 days. Dan Lucas is in. Kieran is in. We've got a few of the members in as well. Bob, Andrew, and Ross are all in the chat room. Daniel Valentine's in. David, Norville, James, a lot of familiar faces, which is absolutely superb. Don't forget, folks, if you are watching and want to get involved in the chat room, you aren't allowed unless you subscribe. There's some little rules that we have in place. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel because it's the best way to get involved and make this show a little bit more interesting by interacting with us here. Josh is in also as well, as is Chris Bradley, Matthew. It's a very busy one tonight, actually. It must have mean we've had a good day of darts, and it certainly, it offered a lot, didn't it?
From the start to the finish, yeah. It's a bit of a cliche to say, but it was a really, really good session. We've had upsets. We've had some very, very long games. I feel for the officials this afternoon a little bit, but they've all done a great job. But yeah, it's been a really, really good session.
Yeah, I think it's. I do think it offered a bit of everything today, and if I'm honest, it was a far better day than I think many of us in the both on the stream and in the chat room yesterday predicted. Certainly a lot of twists and turns, and with that, let me just before we get, I'm going to have a really quick look just before we get into it to see who we've got loaded up in the back end. We've got him, we got him, we got him. Just so that I know as we're getting to games, who we can hear from, because Phil Bowes has been busy at the venue. Don't forget, folks, we will show you some excerpts. You'll get some little clips from interviews today, but once this show's finished, you'll be able to see every winner's interview in full on our YouTube channel. So make sure you check those out after the show. Stick around for now because we've got some interesting things to talk about. Day started, Gob, with a game that, I don't think anyone last night in the chat was looking forward to. I think that it was universally agreed that this wasn't going to be a particularly watchable pace. What I am going to say for this is I think that the standard that we saw from both players exceeded what we probably expected from either of them. Would you agree?
Potentially, especially to sustain it over 4 sets in the way they did. What I will say is I got on a train leaving London about 12:30 earlier, expected to get into Fareham at just before 1:45, and I beat the darts match home.
Well, you
So
were
thank you
always
very much. Thank you very much, boys. You take as long as you like. They started their game at 10-1, and Andrew Gilding and Martin Lukeman started at 10 minutes past 2. So yeah, superb from those two. Got to see the rest of the day. Toyo can clearly play. We've seen that over this year on the Asian tour. He has smashed it out of the park when it first returned. A bit of an unknown to us at the start of the year. Definitely not that case right now. The frustrating thing is that pre-visit routine, it does take a long time. Whenever we've seen other players in the past, that's all we've seen from them. I don't want to call out my commentary partner in crime, Scott Mitchell, but it's the same routine every time. It's the same thing over and over again. And we just go, this is their routine. They're not doing it to put anybody off. Toilos is a little bit too far for me. It is very deliberate. It is very long. It is, I think, borderline against the spirit of the game. And I don't think that's deliberate to put somebody else off. But I also don't think that's the way the game should be played.
Yeah, that's not what we should expect from darts at this level on a stage like this. Just coming over to Ratajski, I think what he's managed to do there, I mean, because let's be honest, like he's averaged over 95, 55% on his doubles. When we have seen seeds tumble, like there are more, we'll break the record for you now. We'll go. And it's spoiler for a few games coming up. We have seen more seeds fall at this stage of the World Championships than ever before. You know, I think the record was 2019 where we've seen 13, and I won't give you the total count just yet because it might spoil a couple of results if you haven't seen them. But we've broken that record now, and so I think all we saw from Ratajski is all really a seed can hope to do at this stage is to turn up, throw, within touching distance of where their A game is, show you that they're all about it. And it was a professional win, wasn't it? It was, he beat a player who he is technically better than and didn't cock it up, which is what we haven't seen from many other seeds.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 95 average and a 55% checkout rate in a best of 7 set encounter at a pace that, even by Ratajski standards, does not suit Ratajski. Like, he's not the fastest player in the world, but there is still a rhythm to Krzysztof Ratajski's game, and that just wasn't allowed to flow at any point in that game today. So to come out and produce that level against somebody of quality as well, because it's difficult enough to play against somebody who is slow and methodical when they're not playing very well. It's even more difficult when you're having to spend 45 seconds between a visit and you're coming back having to chase 140s, 180s, because Toyo was brilliant. Again, his level is exceptional. He just needs to get them out of his hand a little bit quicker because he's going to frustrate an awful lot of people.
He certainly is. And, that Ratajski is just in, we know he's got another level to his game. He, I think, will definitely relish coming back after Christmas for a game with Kevin Doots, which, with the greatest of respect to Kevin Doots, is a far more attractive prospect than coming back after Christmas to meet Michael Smith. We know Ratajski's got a bit of form for going deep in tournaments when people don't expect him to. So I think he's an interesting, but for me, just a very professional performance. And won a game that he should have won, but there's an awful lot of people that haven't done that so far. Moving on, because we've got a lot to talk about and it's very late, but moving on, we had a rare, now we've seen a player this week express their views quite strongly about how they were not the favourite as a seeded player, not favoured by the bookies, etc. This was another game in which the seed in which Andrew Gilding wasn't the favourite in this match. Martin Lukeman was the favourite, I think, with pretty much every bookie you could find. A relatively heavy favourite depending on who you chose. But he was bobbins, wasn't he? It's a mile off.
I'll be honest, I didn't look into the pre-match odds of this one, but that does surprise me a little bit. To be as clear favourite as what you've just said, I think these two are pretty evenly matched. Lukeman had a very, very, very good, was it Grand Prix?
8-13 is where he done me.
Interesting.
I took him at 8-13, and on a 7-fold, he was me one letdown.
Ouch. That one hurts. But like I said, I just think these two are pretty evenly matched. The pace of Gilding is that little bit of an X factor as well, in the fact that he's going to control the game, not to the same level as Toyo that we just discussed, but he is going to control the game in his way. He's got a bit of a cult following now. The crowd love his walk on, etc. And he's still a more than capable dart player. Yes, it hasn't been the explosive year from Andrew Gilding that we've seen in the past that took him to that UK Open glory. He has struggled to back that up in some regards, but he is still more than capable, still dangerous.
I think,
and that run for Lukeman was it the Grand Prix? Was it the Slam he made the semis of? When he made the final, was it the Players?
Slam.
Was it the Slam?
Grand Prix? Which one? Yeah, Slam.
Completely thrown myself off. That run to the final, I think, inflated Lukeman's odds. I think he's had an okay year without being exceptional. A good run to that. Picked up some good prize money, but I wouldn't have put him heavy favourite in this.
I think there was a vast difference in the scoring phase of the game. The averages don't actually tell the full story, primarily because Gilding, in fairness, wasn't particularly good on his doubles. He's done 9 from 35. What he's done is created an awful lot more opportunities at double than Lukeman had. Lukeman's only had 21 darts at a double. Gilding's had 35. So he's created himself an awful lot more opportunities. Like the 180s were 6-0, 140s 15-8. You know, Andrew Gilding was just so much better in that scoring phase of the game than Martin Lukeman that even being not particularly great on the doubles today, Gilding just had so many more opportunities that Lukeman he couldn't be clear. And the only way Lukeman was going to make that game competitive was to be absolutely clinical, and he wasn't. You know, he wasn't particularly clinical on it. It was a shame. You know, that there are a few people outside of the online darts team that get behind Martin Lukeman as much as we do. We are often the Martin Lukeman fan club in a live darts arena, but
I want the T-shirt for next year.
Absolutely. But again, we saw a professional performance from a seed who did enough to get through the game. And again, looking at how other seeds have tumbled by the wayside, that is really what we need to see, is just people turning up and doing enough to get through the games. And Gilding was solid. We do have an interview with Andrew Gilding, so it's only quite a short one, but let's have a little listen to what Andrew Gilding made of things today.
Last year?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, you knew there was a buzz in the air. You knew it was going to be fantastic. I mean, when I was at the match play last year, some people were in the kebab shop next door to the hotel, and they said, "Watch out for Luke Littler." And I thought, I've not really heard of him, but then the buzz was growing at that time, so I knew I was in for a game.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Is that interview from today? All right. Yeah, odd one, but difficult to delve too far into that.
Put it this way, if you didn't know who Luke Littler was 18 months ago, you certainly do now.
You do, and he's a big hit with the folks in the kebab shop, it seems. Next one, we've gone from what was, to the bookies, and certainly to my a bit of an upset to, a very, I'm going to say solid performance, but it's statistically underwhelming. But this game was never ever in doubt, was it? He was just the better player throughout, Josh Rock.
Yeah, as a level of performance, it was bang average at best from Josh Rock, but he had Reese Griffin at arm's length and he kept him there throughout the entire game. Griffin's threatened a couple of times, but Josh has got more than enough in the tank, didn't need to use any of it. Yeah, that's about it. If you look at
it's difficult to
their
go.
ability, you look at what you expect from this duo. This was never not going to be a Josh Rock win. Griffin qualified to get here, hasn't had a great year as it is. Fair play for winning the first round game, but didn't expect much from him after that.
No, he's done him 9-2 in sets, and Josh Rock is a player that he gets himself so up for it, and he's so animated on stage that I think that he does struggle to hit the level he can hit when there's not a lot coming back at him, and there wasn't a lot coming back at him. And I think he used the absolutely correct phrase that he had him at arm's length, and he never, at no point did Josh Rock need to lift his game, so he just sort of found the level and stuck there, but. Again, the important thing is making sure that you come back again after Christmas. And that's what Josh Rock will be doing, folks. Let's have a little listen. Phil has caught up with Josh Rock, as he did with Andrew Gilding. So let's see what Josh made of things.
I did tonight, because obviously I've been here a week. So I got the first game was probably my hardest. It's probably the hardest game I've ever played, because I did put myself in that much pressure, because I wanted to be here after Christmas. But I'm just grateful that I go over the line and I'm here after Christmas.
And look, we've seen the seed tumble. Was that on your mind that you didn't want to add to that?
Of course it was on my mind, because the way my TV form has been all year, I was like, what, you see me just getting out because I am a seed? But I made sure that didn't happen. That was the main thing.
It's pretty much what we said, wasn't it? His eye was just on making sure that he comes back after Christmas, and that is, as the man says himself, exactly what Josh Rock did. Now.
Finally, just say, before we do go on, Josh Rock will be the first player to ever pull a hamstring while playing darts.
You reckon?
Yeah. He absolutely flies around the stage, doesn't he?
He's a presence, yeah. But I don't know if I assume he's got some sort of warm up routine. He's maybe stretching those hammies out before he's getting to the stage, and he's hitting it ready and raring to go. In the final, the headline clash of the afternoon, the round 2 tie, we finally saw, we saw for the first time in this tournament, a game go in to the sudden death. This one took a considerable amount of legs to get done. Was it? How many did Jonny have to win in the end? Was it 15 legs? He had to finally get to get over the line.
Yes.
Very
12.
Well, it was nervy, wasn't it? It swung. Let's say it swung. The momentum swung throughout this game. I wasn't sure. When Mickey Mansell won that first set, I thought we've seen Jonny turn up like this in recent times and not be able to, to produce a great deal. Then he comes back and wins 3-0, finds another level in the next set. And from that point, it was a complete lottery to me. I had no idea what was going to happen. Pretty
much, yeah. And again, Jonny's been a bit of a strange one, and I think because we've seen a few other big names faltering, Jonny hasn't had the best 18 months, has had family issues, seems to have put those aside for now. But again, would have been very conscious that this is a game that can go wrong. Mickey's had a fantastic year on TV. We know he's difficult to play against. Again, this session wasn't one for people who like rat-a-tat darts, let's put it that way. But I just think maybe he started to overthink it just a little bit. He was in control, had Mickey there, and he's just not going to lie down like perhaps he would have done a few years ago.
No. Is this the first time we've had 4 Welshmen coming back after Christmas? Someone in the chat room will know more than I am. Certainly there's better knowledge in there than I have. Have we ever had 4 Welshmen come back after Christmas before? Somebody have a look into it and let us know. I'm not convinced we have.
I don't think we'll have had very many instances where we've had more Welshmen returning than Dutch.
Well, quite right as well. I think we've probably got 2 records there. Yeah, Jonny's an interesting one. He had such a good year. That 2021, 2022 was amazing. Absolutely superb. 2023 on the slide, 24. This year we've seen nothing. A quarter-final in the Grand Prix is the only time we've seen him get to the last 8 of anything at all. he does. You do feel that he needs something, because we've seen big name players slide rapidly down the rankings, haven't we, as well? And Jonny's going to start to go the same way if he doesn't start to pick up proper runs in big tournaments. He's defending a quarterfinal,
something like that.
I think. 2023, I'm pretty sure it was a quarter. I think it was a quarter final. So he's defending money. So he will get on the slide if he doesn't make a quarter final again. Looking at the draw, he's got a relatively good chance. But that little bracket there where he'll meet Daryl, Gurney next. He has got Gerwin Price and Joe Cullen in there as well. So there's some big, tasty Premier League standard players that he's going to have to get through if he's going to retain that Premier League money and not get on the slide. We've got a Jonny interview. Let's have a little look and see a bit longer this one. Let's see what Jonny had to offer.
The way that my darts have been this year, it's slow in the beginning. Starting to warm up a little bit. I know there's another gear or two in the bank, but I've got to be honest. That meant a lot to me. It's a tester. It's to try and make me believe again, I think. And yeah, a great game. 100%. I'm a rhythm player, so I'd be lying to say that I enjoyed that. I enjoy playing against rhythm players. It makes the game so much, not easier, don't get me wrong, but it's easier to play in, if that makes sense. And Mickey just does his thing, and his thing is slow. I was thinking, oh, please, Mick, please get out the way for me to throw a little bit quicker. But hey, listen, that starts. He played his game, I played mine, and I got over the line.
Not a great deal to add to that, I don't think. Pretty much sums it up.
No, you were right about the 50 grand though. That has just dropped, and then so it was quarterfinal and then last 16 last year as well. So 2 pretty steady runs from him.
Yeah, there we go. So some research has been done. We've had 3 Welsh players make it through to after Christmas before. We've never had 4. This is the first time the Welsh have had 4. It is a shame that Carwin's not on this evening, because I'm sure he would have probably given us a couple of verses of Land of My Fathers or something. He would be...
He's too busy doing what Rob Cross did to the camera. Phil.
Dear me.
On to the evening session.
Right. Let's get into the evening session. Now, the only prediction I made on this one was all to do with sets, because I thought it was definitely an over 3.5. I didn't think that anyone was going to run away with it. I thought it was going to be a little bit tighter. I didn't pick Ricardo to win. I will have to doff my hat to Cam McFarlane, who did pick this result last night.
But the current state is, and he won't remember it, so don't give him the credit.
No, yeah, I worry for him. I can still track him on my phone.
You can track his phone. That doesn't mean he's with it.
No, that is a fair point. Yeah, there is a fair point. I thought this was a good watch. There were big moments in this. It wasn't electric in terms of, we didn't see electric scoring, but very tense moments. Some big checkouts. The doubling from Pietreczko was very solid. And now we've seen Pietreczko wobble on stage. We've seen Van Veen wobble as well on stage. But was this just... It almost looked a little bit of a coming of age for Pietreczko, I thought, because he didn't seem flustered, and he just certainly the composure to take the doubles out in the way that he did showed a maturity from him, I thought.
Potentially, it would be interesting to see if he still handles it in the same way. Should he get a crowd not in his favour? He plays Scott Williams next, who got a fine for saying something very silly in the past. But that's the sort of thing the crowd will react to. I think this is all about Gian's first dart. Gian's darts were landing very, very low. They weren't doing him any favours at all in the early set. Yes, he does well in set 2 to get back level from that chasing perspective, but you expend so much energy going, right, come on, get me back in it, get me back in it, get me back in it. Then you go off for a break, and then you come back out, and Ricardo just hammers you and doesn't miss a dart, a double for the final 2 sets. Good performance from Ricardo, whilst Gian was lacking a little bit. I think ability-wise, these two are pretty level anyway. So to see one seeded, one not seeded, can be a little bit. Ricardo's probably had a better year, or had a better year last year, shall we say? Dropped off a little bit. So yeah, look, pretty evenly matched. Good win for Ricardo. Keeps him moving on, especially given how the rest of the German contingent have fared.
Haven't been good so far, have it?
Schindler, Clemens offered not a lot. Hempel was okay. We'll talk about it in a minute. But yeah, to carry that flag on his own now is going to be tough as well.
Is it a worry for Van Veen that low first start that was consistently low? We know that he's had, and everyone doesn't like to say it, but I'm going to just say it, like he's had issues with dartitis in the past. That low first start, a lot of people who know a lot more about it than me, and you are far more knowledgeable than I in terms of the actual technique of releasing a dart and the mechanics of it. But that reluctance of your hand and body and mind to release that dart, that naturally pulls the dart low, doesn't it? Because you're holding onto it too long, your release point's too late, and that's how you end up with consistently low. Is it a concern that he's got on that big stage and that appeared from the outside to be the issue? Was that inability to let go of that dart at the right time and clinging on a bit too long to it?
I think so. I think it's not the first time we've seen this either, since he beat it or got over it to the extent that has allowed Gian to flourish into the player that he is today. That late release is something that he needs to work on a lot and get that dart up. But it's difficult because with a lot of players, you see their dart sticking up, which means a late release drops it low, and it's absolutely criminal. A low dart for Gian isn't bad because he stacks and builds on it. But it's then, does he drag the next one into that dart and can he work with it? So it's not the first time we've seen him revert to this. It's not as extreme as it perhaps used to be, and that's a positive sign. But if he is going to reach the levels that he is capable of in this game, it's something he needs to iron out. Yeah, definitely.
Certainly is. I would definitely agree with that, but interesting to hear your view on it anyway. This was a great game. I really enjoyed this next one. I thought it could have gone either way. Again, I thought we saw a really good level. We saw some big highlight reel moments. The 156 from Gurney was brilliant. We saw good averages. We saw 10 180s, 5 apiece, loads of 140s. Just a really good game, wasn't it, between Gurney and Hempel? I don't think Hempel did a great deal wrong. I think he was edged out by a player who is arguably a better player. But I do think you could play that game several times over the last 2 or 3 years, and Hempel would have got the better of Gurney there. I think it's a big positive for Daryl. Big
positive for Daryl. Well, it is and it isn't. And this is twofold. One, the match has finished 10 legs all. Like, it couldn't get any closer. We could play this match out 50 more times and we get different results every single time because of the way that the legs are spread. Like, you can see 3-0s in this and all sorts. So 10-10, really, really tight match. Just shows you how good it is. But set play, obviously, is the crucial and deciding factor in this one. Worry for Florian is that we've seen him do similar. We've seen him put big performances on the TV. His year on the floor and elsewhere has been pretty garbage. We expected a lot from Florian, maybe even contend at that top German #1 status 18 months ago. That hasn't come to fruition. For Gurney, really, really good performance, but it's not unlike a Gurney performance we've seen in the first round of late. The issue for Daryl Gurney is backing it up in the second round. The drop-off. Yeah. Someone posted it on Twitter earlier with the actual numbers, but it's been a key issue for him for the last year or so. The drop-off in level from Gurney's first-round performance when he inevitably wins to his second-round performance when he inevitably loses is catastrophic.
It certainly is. Yeah, it's... But I still don't know what happens next, you know. I still...
At some point, he's going to put it together and not drop off like an absolute menace in his second game, and he's going to go and do some absolute damage.
You reckon?
Yeah, he has to, because he's got that level in the first round. With this, look, Going Price is similar. He's been absolutely blowing people away in first rounds of majors for the last 12 months. He's not been backing it up in the second round. At some point, if you can go onto TV, produce that level, and win a game, you can do that over and over again. You've just got to get the ability.
You just have to work. Yeah, you have to work it out to do it.
Click once, and the minute it does click once, you go, right, I'm in this now. I'll go again. I'll go again. I'll go again.
Yeah, I think, Gurney, we sort of know, we know what to expect from him because we know what he's got and we know what potential he's got, and we've seen him around for so long. Hempel's, I think, he's an interesting one because he hovers around that. He's very safely kept his card. He's going to be 30 grand above keeping his card. And it's easy to say when he hasn't done a lot, he hasn't done this, the other, but he's very, very comfortably establishing himself as a, solid tour card holder and doing enough that he's gradually moving himself up a little bit. But I think it's an interesting one. This game was interesting because Florian Hempel, you think, well, it's a lottery. He can turn up and bang in a huge performance and turn anybody over. We've seen him beat Dimitri Van den Berg last year. Who knows what could happen. Whereas Daryl Gurney, and the Daryl Gurney story is a little bit different because this is a former Premier League player. This is a player that's won huge games in the PDC.
Champion.
This is what it's like.
Grand Prix and Players Championship winner.
We know that he has the potential. And let's be honest, that top 10 is as wide open as it's ever been in terms of who could make a run at it. Like, who is to say that Daryl Gurney doesn't have if he can put it together, like his next game is against Jonny Clayton. Like, Jonny Clayton, whilst he played well today, is inconsistent at the moment. Beyond that,
aren't they? They could both rock up and average 82 in the next round. They could both rock up and average 110 for 7 sets.
And them two play the winner of Gezi Price and Joe Cullen. You might as well just be tossing coins in every direction, like just to say.
All four of them are consistently inconsistent.
But from
Joe.
From that four, that is where we're going to get our quarter finalist. So one of those consistently inconsistent players is going to be in a world quarter final. And then for some of them, that is why do you mean? What do you mean I'm not in the Premier League conversation? For some of them. Others, it's, well, is this the fire that reignites, where I need to be and getting back on my trajectory? So I think it's a fascinating little section of the draw. Really interesting. Let's hear what Daryl Gurney had to say post-match.
Florian was brilliant, all honesty. The way he started off in the first set, I thought, don't get by 3-0. Try and win a set anyway. And then, obviously, the person in me then got angry with myself. I said, don't you dare think about that. Don't you dare think about winning just a set. Just you. He's only one on his throw. Don't worry about it. Win the next set on your throw, and now you're in the game. And then you just take it from there. And the way I looked at it was the first 4 sets just went with throw. And I thought, he's got the biggest cojones in the fifth. And we soon realised who did.
Well, big cojones, it seems. That's what he puts it down to. I assume Ryanair might charge extra to get them on the plane. He might have to check his cojones in as extra luggage. Yeah, brilliant. Like, exciting, really exciting section of the draw, I think, with those 4 players in. And one of them, like I say, 4 players who we will constantly point the finger has been pointed at constantly for them being inconsistent, not showing up at big events for the last 12 to 18 months. The fact that one of them is guaranteed a quarter final, I think, is really, really big.
And let's be honest, their quarterfinalist opponent is quite open as well. They're in that section that Michael Smith was the big seed who went early. Dukes, Ratajski, Dobie and Rock.
That sounds good, doesn't it?
That's the other half of this section. Like, one of those is a semi-finalist.
Yeah, we like the sound of that. Do me a favour. That message that's just come in the group. Can you do that? I'm on a. I'm using Windows now. Nothing's linked. It's working a little bit faster, but I can't do anything clever with it. Right. So moving on, and this is where. Oh, this one had me. I couldn't sit still. I was up and down and walking around, and it had me genuinely excited. This was an absolutely proper, like it was. I genuinely think it's one of the most entertaining second round matches I've ever seen.
One of the most entertaining dance matches I've seen in a very, very long time as well. I tweeted this, and I'm not afraid to say it live either, obviously, but when you do what we do, and we're very privileged to do it and absolutely love it, and I've made darts a career. Obviously, Dan has another job on the side, but not on the side. Dan has a full-time career, so this is a side hobby, sorry.
I hope my boss isn't watching.
Sorry, I phrased that completely wrong. But when you get to be as close to the top level of this sport that we do, and get the opportunities that we do to not just sit here and talk to you, but go to events and be in and around players. And I work at the Super Series 6 days a week at the moment, and whatever else. You can go a little bit numb to how good some things are, especially when you're seeing things like 170 checkouts and whatever else. Like, I've reffed 6-9 darts. Like, that, they are still fun and they are still brilliant to me, but also you go a little bit numb to it unless somebody's doing something a bit different. This game genuinely had me engrossed from start to finish. Like, it was just brilliant. The stones on both of them, the checkouts they're firing in and out, like, just the level of game, the way the crowd was interacting. Somebody booed Dave Chisnall, by the way. That should be punishable by being hanged. But it was just a really, really fantastic game of darts that reminds you why you fell in love with this sport in the first place.
Well, I completely agree. But it seems that Chris Rea is wanting to. So we're gonna throw somebody extra on the stream just because I think Chris Rea wants to just make a quick appearance, ladies and gentlemen. Driving home for Christmas.
Driving home for Christmas, yeah. How are we, gents?
It was all right until you appeared.
I think we're all right. Yeah, all is good. All is well. We were just talking about how much fun it was to watch Dave Chisnall and Ricky Evans tonight, and how what a thoroughly entertaining and exciting game that was.
Unbelievable game, but yet again, Dave Chisnall finds a way to lose a good game of darts.
Well, you say this, but that's what Ricky's done all year. So it was sort of like one of them's going to end up doing it because it was a great game of darts. Ricky Evans has got the monocle of the unluckiest player on tour this year. He is constantly averaging 95 plus, only to lose to players averaging 100 and deciding legs and God knows what else. And big finishes. And Ricky, who have you got today? A player who's averaged 100 and they've averaged 86 the round after. Like, that has been Ricky Evans' season. Dave Chisnall, a lot of people aren't going to like me for this, but I am now at the point where I don't want to hear Dave Chisnall's name in a conversation for a major winner. Not until he does it. Not until he does it. Because I'm convinced he doesn't get there now. I don't like talking about the fact, or if you're putting Dave Chisnall in the conversation to win a major, you're going to end up disappointed at this rate. He just isn't going to get over the line because he's had too many of these games and he's had too many finals go the other way. And it was always a case of when, not if, for Terry Jenkins, and that wasn't a thing. And Michael Smith was the opposite. It was when, not if. But actually, since that run, it's been a bit of a torrid time as well. We can talk about the manufacturer at some point, maybe in the new year. But Dave Chisnall, for me, just isn't going to complete that big one.
He's not if he keeps counting like that.
It was funny because when you listen to Ricky Evans as well, he stood behind and he said, I knew exactly what he had. Ricky Evans was counting better than Chizzy at the time.
Well,
everyone was.
That might be a perfect lead-in, Phil, because and this is so you've got spoilers because you've already heard this interview. But let's actually hear from Ricky Evans. Let's see what Ricky had to say about the matter.
I actually thought that was a good game as well. So yeah, it was lovely. I'd have been distraught if I'd have lost that because I
put so much into that. Literally all day I've been concentrated. Yeah, sorry. I was literally looking at the double. I thought, oh, this is going in. I was like, where's he gone here? Literally, I thought he'd slipped or maybe hit Charlie or someone on the walk on. No. I thought, ooh. And of course, as soon as I saw it was in the board, I just looked. Normally, I'd get involved. I'd be like, but no, I just turned away, let him carry on. But he won that leg, so it's irrelevant now. But I thought, cheers. But get him a calculator for Christmas, bless him.
Well, it's interesting because he says there, he won that leg. So he says, well, he won that leg, so it's irrelevant. I don't so much buy that. I don't think that winning that leg is irrelevant because it's still like I made, you two both know because I shared it. Like it was like going to confession. I made a ridiculous miscount in quite an important game of darts quite recently when I had 46 remaining and I came to the hockey with every bit of confidence in the world and hit 12 double 16. Like, put one hand in the air and everyone looked at me like I was a fucking idiot. Because I was. Now, what I will say is, I couldn't throw a dart properly for the rest of the night. And I'm not Dave Tidd, like I'm playing at a very, very low amateur level. But I'm not having it that a miscount like that in that environment on that stage is not affecting you mentally going into every single time that you have to start counting for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it does, especially if you leave a big one, like not a straight one, like 120. You're not going to miscount on a 120, but you get a 134 or a 127 or whatever. Like the checkouts these guys should know, but he's going to hesitate a little second. And all right, we didn't really get many moments for that, but it certainly does throw you off. Yes, he won the leg, but there's the whole range of emotions that you go through at that point. I'll be honest, the leg afterwards, I think it was, where Ricky's missed 2 at double 8 for 76. I thought that was game over. When Chizzy led, I thought he was in a lot of trouble there. But the stones to bring it back, the 110 might well be the checkout of the tournament, especially when you look at that part of the draw where Ricky is and the fact that one of us in Ilkeston a few weeks ago said that Ricky Evans would be a quarter finalist.
Really good. He's also he's climbing. He's climbing up that ranking as well, isn't he, Ricky? He's not. I mean, he's qualifying for things, but he's never bridged that gap to really put himself, into that top 32. He's never been it, and on his day, he's got that game, Ricky. He is that good a dart player. But he cannot just find the consistent amount of wins he needs in the right places to make sure that becomes a consistent thing. He's had that run at the UK Open this year. We've seen him a bit more on TV. With the greatest of respects to Robert Owen, that is a very winnable match when he comes back after Christmas for Ricky Evans. Ricky Evans, let's be honest, all things being as they are, Ricky Evans should be winning that match. Doesn't mean he will, but he should be. He'd be a heavy favourite.
Game though, isn't it? Because like we said, it opens up for a spot in the last 16 and potentially a quarterfinal. Dimitri Callan is the opponent there, especially if Callan
got that as well.
Very quick and a good pace to play at. But that's huge for Robert Owen as well, because from not having a tour card to sneaking in the back door because of a certain player's misfortunes to being in the tournament, winning 2 games, right, Rob Owen is 99% safe, to now not being in that case at all.
He's still not safe. He is still in a sort of strange beige, light beige colour.
I think it's worse than that. I think he has to beat Ricky Evans because I think Jeffrey DeGraff wins.
Well, he has to. He's the big favourite against Paolo Nebreda, yeah. So Rob Owen has to beat him to keep the card, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm just having I'm having a skew down, and Jeffrey's the threat because he's going to be a heavy favourite. We know we've seen Pablo throw in some upsets, but again, with the greatest of respect to Pablo Nebreda, how many upsets has Pablo got in him? Like how many times in a row?
Well, he's 3 away from a tour card, so long may it continue. Go on, Paolo.
Well, we shall see. Right, folks, we will move from one, tremendously exciting match. I'll be honest, like, when I saw the draw, when we first, and certainly when we sat in Ilkeston the other week and talked about it, I really, really fancied this game as like it was my pick of the draw, for the early stages. I thought if we get cross against Williams, we know it's teammate against teammate. They've got a good relationship with each other, but let's see them tear it up. And it was not the tear up that I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be electric.
Well, let's be fair. The biggest talking point was something that didn't happen on the dartboard.
Well, it's 2 of them.
Yeah. Two talking points. One is the fact that Mr. Cross is going to be in trouble for his hand gestures on his way off the stage.
So
and the other one...
Williams, because he had a pop at the camera, didn't he? The set before.
Yeah, well, he said this in his press conference. I haven't clipped that bit because that was the boring bit. He said that literally the camera kept moving when he was about to throw for a double.
Is that, am I the idiot in the room that says, is that not what the camera does?
Ish. It depends which one, because it's eye line, so it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So
okay. It shouldn't while they're throwing, but there might have been a new cameraman or something that got it wrong.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Are we happy to say that this underwhelmed?
Oh, it was a stinker.
Yeah.
Was it always going to be a I felt a bit foolish watching it because, like I said, when we saw the draw, like I went down and I was like, I literally like drawing circles around this one, going like, this is their game. This is what we're going to see. It's going to be mint. Is it that like the amount of pressure? You've got a semi-finalist from last year, one of the and a former world champion playing each other when they're both probably somewhere from their best form. Both a bit inconsistent with a huge amount of pressure when their teammates know each other so well. Was it always going to underwhelm, do we think?
I think so, yeah.
You can spark each other into life, can't you? But it's less likely to happen. And last on, yeah. Not for me.
And late as well.
Yeah.
Let's let the elephant in the room. Practice probably came into...
We started all right, didn't we?
Well, even I've had a good practice at this point.
Yeah, no comment.
It's 20 to 1 in the morning and I'm not at work tomorrow. I'm sufficiently well practiced.
Done it again. This guy knows.
Too bloody right.
Even chat room as well. I can't look at the comments because I'm obviously driving, so I'm just talking. But even chat room.
A lot of them are calling your names, to be honest, Phil.
To be fair, it's been one of those weeks. Let's be fair.
All good names, though, to be honest. Yeah, there's a lot of love in the chat. To be fair, I'll be honest, you can look at it back later. It'll do you self-esteem and those are good. There's a lot of love for Phil Bars in the chat room once he's when he has appeared. We've got, so Phil, like I said, Phil's been busy all night tonight. We've got a snippet that he's put in for us. Don't forget, folks, it's the last little excerpt that we're going to play for you tonight. All of this evening's interviews, or all of today's interviews, in fact, with winners that Phil has got for you all, will be uploaded in full to our YouTube channel. So once you finish watching the show, you can check out the full interviews. But let's hear a little excerpt from the Scott Williams interview now.
Firstly, I wasn't aware of anything. Secondly, regardless of what he did, I don't really care. When you're up on, I've just played one of my closest pals for £10,000. Right? There's not many people that are watching this have gone and done that. So I'm not bothered of what he did. We had a chat beforehand. We had a chat afterwards. I love him, and he's great. And regardless, like we'll see each other today over Christmas and over the next couple of months and whatever he's doing, and we'll be exactly the same. I was exactly the same 2 years ago. Like I said to Josh, I should have probably won that game 2 years ago, or should have been better. Regardless of what I should have won or could have won, it's different. But hey, it's darts. You got to do what you got to do, and if the person in front of you is giving it, you give it back. If the person in front of you is hitting the doubles, you got to hit the doubles. It's a tough game.
Didn't want that bit at the end, did he? Just let it out, Scotty.
No, he does. He does look like that was a difficult game for him to play. I think, and that is one of the problems. We see a lot of positive and a lot of good things that come out of tight sort of management companies having groups of players where they eat together and they practice together and they form really solid relationships. They've got really good support networks. They all feel loved and cared about. But because darts is the type of sport that it is, sooner or later, these guys all meet each other on the stage in matches that are very, very important to them. And that can then pose a challenge, can't it?
Well, there are two types of management companies in PDC. There are a few that are chummy, like the Williams camp, and there are others that they're all managed by the same company, but are treated as individuals. And would it be fair to say that the ones that are treated like individuals have a more ruthless streak, Jack?
Yeah, probably.
Because there isn't that connection. And I think that comes to the fruition when they play each other. That, let's be fair, they don't give a fuck. But when Williams plays Cross or Rock, and Max Stable as well, where they are friendlier, it's harder.
It's like playing a family member for some of them, isn't it?
100%.
I think it adds big challenges to the game, and I think what we saw tonight definitely, definitely showed.
There are advantages to both styles of management, by the way, as well, because obviously, like for Scott and Rob, they've got ready-made practice partners. They've got people they can travel with on the tour that they can bounce off. If it's not going right for one of them, the other one can give them a little tap and go, "Come on, and let's get going," sort of thing. You know what I mean? But it does become an issue when you play each other. Whereas the other style of management can be very lonely. You're very dependent on your friends and your family around you, rather than the friends you've got on tour and the people that are there to help you drive you around to event games or whatever else. But they find it a lot easier to go and dismantle each other on stage and earn lots of money. So,
yeah, agreed.
Yeah, it's. I think that is the story of this game today. But I mean, let's take the bigger story should be that the man that made the semi-final last year is again rattling through his side of the bracket. He's dispatched someone who you've arguably got to say was one of the tournament's favourites. Like, he has to be. You know, there was loads of people picking Rob Cross to. Those that maybe hadn't picked him to win it had picked him to go deep. He's going to play Ricardo Pietreczko in the next round, where you know he'll probably go into that as a favourite, given the fact that he's beaten Rob Cross and his pedigree from last year, regardless of who's where in the rankings. And then the other side of that bracket for that quarter final, you've got Andrew Gilding and Nathan Aspinall, and again, huge players that can play very, very well, but there's nobody there that on his best day Scott Williams can't beat.
I'm going to throw this out there here. Because there are probably going to be at least two players in the Premier League that probably don't deserve to be, I'm throwing it in there now. I want to see Scott Williams in the Premier League. Does he deserve to be in there on this season's form? No. Is he made for the Premier League and the big stage? Abso-freaking-lutely. So if they're going to chuck people in that don't deserve to be in there, I'm putting my hat behind Williams.
Well, with
I would make a fortune.
How do you put Rob Cross in? And
he's
not
ranked
Scott
4 in the
Williams?
world.
Because he's top 4 in the world.
For the world.
He sneaks in. He's in that Dave Chisnall spot, and Chisnall was 4 for a long, long time and was going to get in. His best TV performance in 18 months is the 3rd round. He's been dreadful, and whilst I don't want to crap on a guy that's just lost 3-2 in this as well, should be nowhere near that conversation.
But I don't think he finishes in the top 4 in the world.
Well, that's a big statement, because the ones that are behind him are probably going to have to make at least a semi-final.
Yeah, Damon Hatter makes
has to go to a final. Clayton has to go to a final. Bunting has to win it.
Hatter can make a semi.
Oh, I was looking at Michael's money. Yeah.
Yeah. Damon Hatter makes a semi-final. Rob Cross is out the top 4. Damon Hetter's in the Premier League, by the way, like at that stage.
To make a semi, he's got to beat Luke Humphries.
Not happening.
He's likely got to beat Woodhouse, Bunting, Humphries in that order.
If he does that, then he deserves a Premier League spot.
Yeah, like I'll fucking drive him to event 1 myself.
Give him the lift.
But he ain't doing that.
Up.
I like Dave. I think he's a fantastic dart player, and he is more than capable. And if that's at Players Championship 12 in Wigan in 6 months' time, I've got full faith in him doing that run.
If he goes through those on the World Championship stage, then he deserves a Premier League spot.
Yeah. Do I have faith in him doing that up on a big stage? Probably not.
Well, if he goes through them, he'll have one because he'll be in the top 4, and Rob Cross won't be. And then it's a big conversation for Rob Cross. Right.
Bunting v Hatter could be a really good game, as James just said, because that could quite conceivably open that door for one of those picks. I think Bunting's in. I think Bunting.
But if Hatter beats him at the Palace, how do you then not have Hatter in?
Still think he's just. I still think Bunting's there. I think Hatter is competing for a different spot alongside him. I think De Decker has lost his spot. I think Smith's nowhere near the conversation anymore. I think it's Gezi and Asp are the other two that you might fight to stick around with. And if I'm being honest, I wouldn't put either in. But I don't think they make wholesale changes to that level.
They wouldn't. However, after Gezi's recent Instagram post, I think he's had someone's called him and said, wind your neck in. Otherwise, we can't put you in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That post just doesn't come out of nowhere. After he's been so adamant for 6 months, he wants nothing to do with it. That post doesn't come out of the blue unless he's been told.
I still don't think it's a good thing for him either, by the way. That's not me saying that as someone who doesn't particularly enjoy watching him play there. It's someone who thinks it's not an environment conducive for Gerwyn and Price to play good darts. He's made the finals twice out of 8 attempts, maybe 9, the final 4. It's just not good for Gezi.
Hey, James, if Chris Dobie gets that far in the tournament, he won't be the only one with a semi. Put it that way.
I can't even read the chat room, but I know where that's gone.
Right, folks, that is about all we have got. It's now tomorrow today. In fact, it's well fast tomorrow today. It's 10 to 1.
Tell you what we have got quickly. We have the order of play for the post-Christmas.
Oh, I was going to read it out loud. If you can,
I haven't even seen that, so you guys can fill me in.
Right, okay, there we go then. I was going to read it out loud, but we're not going to do predictions, folks, today. We will, and we are going to try and pull something together between now and the 27th. I mean, there's not much happening, I don't think, in between now and the 27th. Certainly, if you're like me and you've got 3 kids. It'll be boring, if anything. So we'll pull something together where we'll put some predictions together and get them out to you to what we think is going to happen so you can ridicule us on them. Afternoon session, Friday the 27th. Damon Hatter, Luke Woodhouse, Jonny Clayton and Daryl Gurney, and Stephen Bunting against Maddis Rosman. I tell you what, if you've got an afternoon ticket on a Friday, I think there's some value for money. I think that is a good session to see.
Just wait till you get to Sunday afternoon. Keep going, Dan.
Come back on the evening for Gezi Price against Joe Cullen, Jermaine Wattermina and Peter Wright, and the number 1 in the world, defending champion Luke Humphries against Nick Kenny. That's a nice session. Saturday is the day the Geordies are coming at it. We've got Ryan Joyce against Ryan Searle in the Ryan Derby, Scott Williams against the Ricardo Pietreczko match that we just mentioned, and Nathan Aspinall against Andrew Gilding. So that little section of the draw playing each other on this Saturday afternoon. Saturday evening, I cannot get my head around how that's not main eventing, but Chris Dobie against Josh Rock is up first, followed by Michael Van Gerwen and Brendan Dolan and Luke Littler. Oh, that's why Dobie's not main eventing, because Ian White's on. They've put Ian White in the in the main event. Ian White playing a lad from the youth system in the headline event. Sunday afternoon. Oh, by fuck yeah! Claim your refund now, quick! Good Christ, that's a shit session, isn't it? Sunday afternoon, Jeffrey de Graaf against Paolo Nebreda, Kevin Dukes against Krzysztof Ratajski, Dimitri Vandenberg getting battered by Callan Ridds. And then on the Sunday, we see Ricky Evans and Robert Owen, and then a couple of 4th round games. I think there's some gorgeous sessions in there. I mean, let's be honest.
That's one stinker as well. Let's be fair.
That Sunday afternoon is horrific.
Saturday, yeah, but the belter is though. Saturday the 28th is that good that if, like me, you like to participate in an ale or two, you can sleep through the Sunday afternoon session and revisit it, and just you can get it all. You can get it all in on the Saturday night because that looks an absolutely superb session of darts, folks. We will be back on the 27th.
Dan, before you round up, I've got something to say as well. First of all, everyone in the chat room and who was watching this back, thank you very, very much for your support over the last more like 15 days because of all the pre-Worlds content as well. Thanks for all the likes, shares. You guys have absolutely smashed it. And thank you to all the OD team. It has been one hell of a shift these first 9 days from everyone. And I think we've just about got there, got everything done, everything covered for you guys. So from me, thank you very, very much, everyone.
Good stuff. Now, and like Phil said, we are back. We're back on the 27th. We will be back with more post-match interviews, Fallout Bar, previews, roundups, predicted bets, everything else, all the content that you've become used to getting from us every day. We're going to have a couple of days off to enjoy Christmas, as I hope you all do as well. Try not to think too much about the darts, trying to get too excited while you're unwrapping your presents and you're distracted by thinking about how are you going to celebrate Chris Dobie winning the World Championships. But from all of us, and on behalf of everyone at the Online Darts team, have an absolutely superb Christmas. Enjoy it. Don't drink too much. Well, do.
No. Yeah, it's the one time of the year we can drink what you fucking want.
Don't listen to anything I've got to say. Drink like a darts player. Right. That's it, folks. Thanks, God, for coming on and sharing your insight and views as ever. Phil Bars, Chris Rea, driving home for Christmas. Thank you for joining us. Everybody in the chat room, as Phil says, if it's not you coming in and getting involved in the chat room, it's just two blokes chatting about darts, and it's nowhere near as fun without you all coming and getting involved. So thank you for everything that you've done getting involved in the chat room, predictions, general banter, everything else. We will see you on the 27th when we come back. Oh, certainly I will be back on the 27th for a Fallout Bar. There'll be, I'm sure, a little bit of content dripping through to you in between now and then. But for now, it just falls to me to wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. And we will see you all in a few days' time. Take care and good night. Merry Christmas.